It's so nice to see you all, fellow 3D enthusiasts. Welcome, Steve. Welcome, Rod. Welcome, Joe. Welcome, Julia. And welcome, the Captain, Slaymore. Very nice to see you again. I hope you're doing well. Haven't seen you in a while. All the better that you could make it now. I've got two things I have prepared for today, which shouldn't take long. But then I always say that, don't I? So I don't know how long they're going to take. It'll be two things. I'm going to start with the first one, which is not so much to finalize the animation I've made for Steve there, the one which we've already looked at, the animatic, through the Urban Future 7 set that ends on the backdoor 3D logo. I've rendered the high-res animation, so I've got all the still images, and I thought it'd be interesting to have a look at how do I compile them. Usually you can just hack them one after the other, either with a video editor or with Photoshop. And sometimes I do it with Photoshop if there's really no other post-production necessary. But in case we do need audio, or if we do need something else, I like to use Premiere for that. And I'm going to use Premiere today. So I'll do that. That's the first one. I'm using Premiere because we need some jiggery pokery at the end. The camera move, I couldn't quite get the way I wanted it, so we can zoom in more to the logo. So I'll do that in Premiere. It's just going to be a simple post-production thing. And so that's the one thing that we're going to do first. And the other thing is that I'd like to have another crack at that Carrara Caustics animation that you've seen in the title sequence, the one where my logo is kind of appearingly swimming underwater, and there's the logo underwater, water plane above it, and it seems to be doing this, and it looks all very exciting. And I wish I had rendered that slightly longer and in 60 frames a second. Of course, I don't have the source file anymore, so I'll have to go take a crack at it from scratch. But it'll be nice because it's been a while since I've played with Carrara, and it's one of those superb softwares that if you have it in your toolbox and you know how to use it, it's just very nice to get distinct effects done very quickly. And I love that effect, and I wanted to have another crack at it. So it'll be kind of playing around. There we go. And that's what I've got planned. Let's go and break right in and open up the Premiere or Premiere. It kind of depends on which country you're coming from. I'll show you the animatic quickly that we're gonna compile. This is the folder that has all the still images in it. In all, it's about 1,200 or so, and my computer's been tirelessly rendering. These are all the pictures. So those are the high-res versions. I'll compile those in a moment. But I had already made kind of a low-res animatic, and this is what it looks like. We've seen this before. This is 15 frames a second, so that the animatic was going to be ready by the next day. And now I've got this in 30 frames a second in high res, 1920 by 1080. So that's very nice. That shall be finalized. And I'm proud of the background action, like the green guy, the blue guy that went through, the two people that are walking through. And here's the thing that I couldn't quite get right. The camera move ends about here, and this is now the post-production effect that I need to recreate. On this occasion, I've also added a light on the left so that backdoor is going to be just more illuminated. That's the plan. All we need to do is make that happen in high res. Let's do it. Thank you. I like it too, Joe. I like it too. It's going to be nice. I will create a second version of that, which will be for my intro, and instead of Steve's logo, it'll have the 3D Shenanigans logo on there. I might put that in. If I find the logo, I need to dig that out, so I hope we can find it later together. Christina might be joining us later. She has internet right now. It kind of comes and goes, if I understand it correctly. So yeah, I hope she's gonna be here soon. Other than that, anyone else whom I haven't welcomed in by name, of course, you're very, very welcome as well. Anyone on YouTube, anyone on Twitch, anyone who's watching the pre-record, and anyone who's watching without chatting, that's perfectly fine as well. Thank you so much for joining. Here we go. We're going to make a new project. Oh, actually, I've got one already, which is Urban 7 Animation. This is what I used for the animatics, so I will just keep going with that project. I shall do that. If you have any questions, by the way, about what I'm doing, how I'm using it, don't be shy to ask. I will keep an eye on the chat. And yeah, pepper me with questions. I'll see if I can answer them. So Premiere, I like using Premiere for all my video editing needs that are complex. I do like Camtasia as well. That's kind of a more simple editor. I also use iMovie on the Mac. It kind of depends on what the footage is and how quickly I need it. Marcos, thank you so much for joining. How you doing today? I don't really know what the project looks like at the moment. What have we got? We just got these two animatics there. Okay, cool. So let me go and import my images. First, I'd like to have a look though. I do this every time because I don't really trust the Premiere settings. I believe it's under there's a timeline panel here. And in timeline, it tells you how long Premiere is supposed to regard a single frame when you import it. And that is sometimes, I think by default, that's set to something longer, and that's not good for animation. So I need that to be 1 frame. So each still image I bring in is going to be 1 frame, and you need to set that before you import anything with Premiere. Because if you don't, you have to kind of delete the images and then import them again. It's just, a bit cumbersome. So I can just import the whole folder here. It takes Premiere a second. And then you'd think that would be the end of it and you can just drag in all the images, but that's also not the case because Premiere is a little bit pernickety, if that's the right word to use. And it doesn't necessarily order the images. I don't know why. If you import all the images individually, like if you mark 1,000 images also in your Windows Explorer in the file open dialog, it usually does it correctly. But if you import a folder, then you end up sometimes with images that are kind of out of sequence. Oh, thank you so much for hosting my stream, Julia. That's much appreciated. Very nice. With 1 viewer, that's good. Thank you. And the larger the images are and the more images there are, it'll take Premiere a little bit of time to import them and kind of, do some finagling in the background. And I appreciate that you always get something out of it, Marcos. I really like that. I enjoy reading your comments. It's really nice when that happens. This timeline here, this is my animatic timeline, that's only set up to have 15 frames, and that's not that's not enough. Thank you so much for hosting the stream, Steve. That's very nice. So the first thing I'll do is I'll create my own new sequence from it. Usually if you have a video clip, you can just go and right click and then go new sequence from clip, and that will kind of magically take on the properties of that video clip. So it makes editing easy. If you have something like shot in whatever aspect ratio, whatever format, and you think, hey, all I want to do is retain that and I want to just bring that in and edit that, then this is a good way of doing it. But in my case, I can't really do that because Premiere doesn't know what I want to do with the still images. So I'm going to set up a new sequence. And I could just go and set up a 4K sequence. Why don't we do that? I mean, it'll be up-res in regards to the images, but it'll be, it'll be nice. We could do that. But let's say rendering will take a bit longer. Let's just do regular 1080. I like to use DNxHR, or actually DNxHD I need to use. And in this case, we want this one here. I believe HQX is a very good kind of preset for that. They're really complicated, kind of the naming conventions there, but this is what I tend to use because it's kind of uncompressed things that you can do there. Don't worry about 29.97 versus 30. There's almost no difference, and we don't have a 30 frame preset, so I'll just settle for 29.97. I'll call that Urban Backdoor Stills, just so that I have a stills compilation for that, and then I can, actually I'm just going to call it Urban Stills. Urban Stills, maybe. Should I do that? Urban Backdoor Stills. That's going to be good. There, that's our new sequence that opens up here. I'll go into this tab, which shows me all the images here, and all I need to do here to get around that Premiere bug is I need to just click on name once, and that should have ordered the images. If I do it again, then I will have them ordered in the reverse order, like alphabetically every file. And if I do that, just once, then it'll just order them alphabetically. I can also just go and close the whole folder and then drag the whole folder in onto my sequence. Sometimes it doesn't work, like the demo effect, it doesn't work. So I'll have to select the first frame, scroll all the way to the bottom, shift select the last frame, and then drag them all in. And that should now, why don't you want to work? What's not working here, dude? That's bizarre. It doesn't want to import my images, and I don't really know why that is. Huh. Oh, Christina, how you doing? Good to see you. Let me try it with a single image here. I don't know what's eating Premiere today. You just drag this in and you drop it on there, and it just doesn't want to work today. That's a shame, isn't it? I wonder why. What am I doing wrong? Video is where I want to put this. Audio we don't have. Why you no work? Let's test that. I suppose I'll do that. New sequence from clip. Does that work? With stills? Well, now it's 60 frames. That's also, it's not exactly what I wanted. That's bizarre. So I've not really seen this happen before. This is usually how I work, which is why I'm a little bit perplexed why it's not working. Huh, bizarre. Well, let's just go do this the Premiere way then. So new sequence from clip with all the images. It has now, I guess, selected this as 60 frames a second. So this is not exactly the correct speed. It plays it twice as fast. Not exactly what we want. So I guess I'm going to go and see if I can finagle this one we don't need. So I'll go take that out. This one I'll go rename in a moment. So I'll go and delete this, the one that isn't working, and just go rename that into urban backdoor stills. Bizarre. And because this is now 60 frames a second, I can either speed that up, speed the footage up. That is a possibility. It's kind of a hack. Or I can try and edit the sequence settings, as I had hoped I wouldn't have to do that. But let's see. 60 frame time code. This is, yeah, see, this is the thing. It can't. Let's try this. But now I guess it's still the same playback speed. Yes, it's still the same playback speed. So it's not really what I had intended to do here. Sometimes Premiere is just a bit difficult. Let me undo that. Let me undo that. See if that's, yeah, okay, it's 60 frames again. So if Premiere is having an issue with that, perhaps I will try and drag this sequence into another sequence. So that is another thing I can try and do, that I go and create my own sequence just like I had intended it, and then just drag that sequence in. I guess that's another thing I can do, like my sequence here, and it'll be urban final, and into that I'll go and drag in this one, which I thought I had renamed. There. Oh, good stuff. Are they still switched on? See, it's good to know, because we looked at that last time, and I don't quite remember if I had switched them on or off without testing it. What do you think, guys? Shall we leave the bots in place? Shall we just leave that? Should we leave them where they are? How do I get this dragged out of the thing? You be right back, Rod. So this seems to have worked. So the only thing with this now is that we need to make sure this plays at half the speed. So speed will be 50%. And then we have it played back at the speed which the inventor had intended it. Don't worry about the frame rate. It's unless I render it like out with the return key, we'll just get a slightly hacky preview here. That's okay. That's okay. Premiere can do it as soon as it compiles the images. Or I kind of pre-render this sequence here. So where we really want to go in, and we can see the effect that this is got now here with the second light. So the second light has now made it possible that this word isn't as dark as it once was before. So there we go. This now looks much better, and we still see the traveling light. So that's all nice. I'll leave them on. Yeah, I'll leave them on. And if we need anything else, my friends, let me know, and then we'll quickly go into the whole bot setup, and we'll see if we need to. If the next bot comes along, let's have a quick look and see what they actually say, what the words say, and then we'll just take that as an advantage and say we're just going to take a key phrase and make sure that gets muted and gets the guys out. We have the upper hand here, definitely. I think I can whitelist it. Yeah, why don't we do that? Thank you for the tip, Christina. Let's do that now while we think of it. I believe that was under streamlabs.com. This is the cloud bot now. I don't have the local bot running. So yeah, let's do this right away. So that was in CloudBot. CloudBot is on indeed, and we're looking for the mod tools, and that's the caps protection and auto permit purge. Yeah, I see. We don't want to. We want some kind of a whitelist here. Amount of caps. Well, there we go. Maybe I'll set it to something like 4, so anyone can type 3-letter abbreviations, and they'll be fine. How's that? Exactly. So Roffle should work. So let me go save these settings, and then let's try. Have you saved it? Yes, you saved it. Try Roffle again, and I hope you're not going to get spammed now, because then if there's another 3 or 4 letter word, we'll all be fine, I guess. No, because you're the moderator, Christina. So you have special privileges. You can't partake in the words. Moderators will be kind of left as they are. So Captain, you're not a moderator. You try it again. See if Roffle works this time. Oh, I see. So for Rod, it didn't work. Minimum amount of caps. So maximum amount of caps. That's interesting. So AFK works. So maybe I have to say, yeah, I have to. That's a shame. Because I don't see under other modules, I'll see things that in which we can say have a whitelist, and I don't see a whitelist here. Auto permit, is that something? Subscribers, regulars. Oh, that's what I was going to do. Exactly. I was going to set you up as regulars, wasn't I? So auto permit regulars. Let's do that. And then at least LOL will get through. But under user management, I will set you up as regular. So let me just go and copy and paste some of you here. So Joe, I'll start with you. I'll just start with you in alphabetical order. So, oops. Do you know what? I'll do this later. I'll do this when we're off air. I'll have a look at this when we're off air. I was going to do this on last time. I totally forgot. I will do it now. Let's do this animation thing. Thank you for letting me know. So 3-letter caps are good now. 4-letter caps, be careful. So back into Premiere then. When I look at this, I can see that this up to here is the camera move, and then the camera static. So I'm going to go and first, I'm going to start my first Premiere keyframe about here, just when the camera comes to an end, that they kind of mix in between there. So I do that under Effects, and I'm going to go and say the position and the scale both need to be keyframes. So I need to tell Premiere that I want to set up keyframes for that. I don't have to set a first keyframe. If everything else will stay the same, that's cool, but it's just as finicky as other animations. I kind of get into the habit of it. I could set a keyframe here. I don't have to do this. Yeah, so anything from the beginning to the first keyframe will stay the same. And now we'll go to the last frame of vision. and we will set up another keyframe there. Well, actually, first of all, we'll make a little cut here. There's several ways of doing that. I will use just right click and add a frame hold here. Whoops, add a frame hold. And so that means now that the frame here is supposed to get held. Probably the last 2 frames because we've done the speed thing here. So let's do add frame hold. Yeah, perfect. So now the last frame gets held. And this is something I like to see a little bit longer, namely kind of 5 seconds. So I'll drag it on until about 5 seconds. So I have a total of 45 seconds. 5 seconds is just the frame here. Man. And I would like to set another keyframe literally just before I do that here. So about here, I'd say. That's the last keyframe, at which point I already want to see the backdoor logo full screen. So those things will take care of that, adding keyframes. And now I can go and hold shift, and then I'll go directly to the next keyframe here. So this is where I want to set this up. I want to go and zoom in, and I want to go, and our rotation was also a keyframe that I needed. So I'll go and go here, switch on rotation as well, and go to the next one and set that up as well. So here we want to do our animation. So we want to be larger, and we want to be we want to rotate to about here, and we want to mess with the position, maybe a little bit too large here, so maybe 140 might just work. We may have to go a little bit larger because otherwise I see the black corner here. Do you know, I just said this to Steve earlier. It's always, eventually you'll see, Joe, that there's these complicated interfaces. They fade out into the background eventually. There's one other thing I like doing when I set these things up. I right click and then I add the save margins. It's just a cage that we see here, and it shows me how in the middle that whole thing is. So I think we need to just do a little bit more here for 148. Now it's probably 150. Let's do 150. Just so that that black corner is getting out, so I can still see a little bit. I might just be able to position that, position that slightly further up like so, and it'll be okay. Yeah, ideally I don't want to see the black corner there, but I think, you know, I could put something underneath it. I might do that so that the word can literally be in the more or less in the center here. Yeah, I might put a mask underneath it. Yeah, okay, let's try that. Let's put, it doesn't have to be anything special. We can just go and take the safe margins away. All I need to do is sample this gray, and at least it's not black. That's all we need really. So for that, let's put this onto the second video track so that we have something we can put underneath it. And I'll create a new item, which is a color matte. And we'll just call that, do that, pick that up here, that kind of color, grayish. And I see this is orange now. Oh, because it's picking up the color of my cursor. That's interesting, isn't it? That's very clever, Premiere. I like that. So let's go and switch my cursor off quickly. Pick this up with gray. There we go. And I'll call that gray. And let me switch my cursor back on, because I guess it's more helpful if we can see the orange dot, right? If it's too confusing, the orange thing, let me know. I always think it's a good idea because the cursor is sometimes so small that you don't really know what the guy is talking about. So I'll make sure I set the duration to something longer than 1 frame, because this thing I'd like to be there for, like, say, I don't know, 6 seconds. And then I can just go and drag this underneath here. And now we don't have any black anymore. So it's not perfect, because to really make it perfect, I'd have to make this edge, what's the word I'm looking for? Soft. And I don't have the time to do that. So it'll just be there for just a second. So I think I might just leave that as it is. I might switch the color a little bit. I could even just take that piece of image and put it underneath it. And really, to avoid that edge, we'd need to have a soft edge there, and that would require just, time, and I don't want to spend that amount of time on it. So I'll just, it'll be an animation. We'll barely see it. And I'm just going to have a look where this comes in. It appears to start about here. So I'll go and drag my thing to where it starts, and make sure that I leave it for as long as we need it. So now, since we're looking at backdoor and we're not looking at the corner, why's the corner? Oh, the corner changes color, man. That's not what I had expected. Oh, we can't do it with a static color then. We're going to do it with some color correction then. I can start this darker. We'll put a little color correction filter on this. Okay. We'll put that on the list of things to do. I'll have to go and make sure this bit, which was the frame hold, has the same effects on it as this bit here. So that's important. But we can do that by just going on this frame here. Oops, wrong panel here. Go onto that and then right click onto this clip. And if we're lucky, Premiere lets us do that here. No, we're not so lucky. Can I do it here? I can usually copy and then paste the transformations on here. Like paste attributes, I believe it's called. Paste attributes, but we need to say copy attributes from here. I hope it's not going to go and copy the keyframes, because that's what we don't want. Paste attributes, there we go. Time remapping, motion, opacity, that's exactly what we want to do. Why didn't you do that? That's a shame, isn't it? What a shame. It didn't work. It's probably because I only have 1 frame to choose from here. I suppose even easier is to just remove that last bit then, and then just go on that part here. I can now add a frame hold, and that should take into consideration my effects, shouldn't it? Should it not? Add a frame hold here. And it does. Okay. We'll do it that way. That's fine. Okay, let's save the project. I've been badly burned recently with not saving projects or over-saving projects. Depth of field, possibly. Depth of field in Premiere, I've never done that before, Marcos. That would be an interesting idea. I'm not sure if that'll make the edge softer though. I don't know. It's possible. So let me apply a color correction on our gray matte. That should do the trick. That should do the trick. Yeah, color correction should work. So effects, color correction, simple one. Change color, that's also an idea. Let's do change color instead. I've never used this effect, but that might be interesting. Color to change that one, and then we can just change that one color. It's a possibility. And just make that lighter. It's overkill. I'll stick to what I know. I'll just go and say brightness contrast. That's probably going to be enough. Now, ideally, I would change the lightness of the whole thing. So that's probably, there's so many types of color corrections in here. Change to color. Let's try that. That's also something I've not tried. From to. Change one color into another. That's really? That's also no. This the devil's work, man. The devil's work. How about color balance? Will that help us? Is lightness in there? No, it's also not what I'm looking for. Equalize, leave color, tint. Nah. Brightness and contrast. Come on, it's black and white. We can do it. So brightness and contrast. So when we're here, well, I'll employ the same idea as I did before. Just about here, when we're happy that the color is correct in the top right corner, I'll set a keyframe here and there. And now I'm going to go to the beginning. Just when this thing comes in, so this is about here. So I want to make sure about here is another keyframe, and this is the kind of color that we're gonna change now into the one that we need, and then hopefully it's going to just gradually change. So for that I have to be a little bit inventive, because I have to really zoom into this value so that I can pick it, or that I can match it. So that will inevitably create another keyframe right here where I don't actually want it, but it'll get me there. It'll get me to the right value, so I can then go and move that over to where I need the keyframe to be. So let's see what we can do here. Look at that. That's actually all I need. From here to there, we barely notice it. I might set another one. So the beginning is nice. Here is where it's kind of going off kilter. So I'll just go and match that just by eye here. This is the kind of corner I'm looking at. Again, it's not perfect, but it is, it's getting us there so that it's barely noticeable. It's literally not noticeable at all. The only thing that we do notice now is the first keyframe here, and it's not actually a big issue. I'll just go and move that here, and that to about here. That moves it out of the way. Top right corner, my friends. Barely noticeable. Barely. And just so that we can see it with and without, so this is without this thing. If I had not done that, we would see this, and that is noticeable. But because we're professionals at Daya, professionals, as soon as we switch it on, we'll be okay. So it's not, I could have rendered this differently. I could have finagled the actual camera move. It's good enough for what we're doing. And I guess that's that. I think that's that. All that remains now is just to render it out. Exactly. It's just, but that if had the corner been black, this is something that really catches your eye. That's why I like sometimes using lights that flicker, because that's where the viewer's direction then just gets redirected to. And the opposite is true as well. As long as something doesn't look too bad, we're okay. Well, let's go and render this out so we can have the world premiere of this in high resolution. That's with the media encoder thing, Control M. And high bitrate will probably be okay for this. Yeah, there we go. Urban. Urban Final. I like Urban Final. Let's do that. And it doesn't have audio, so let's not export it. Export. Boom. There we go. Do you know, Rod, maybe that would be a nice title for your stream, Live from Jello HQ. What do you think? That's cool. No, I still like Live from the Lair, Live from Rod's Lair. I think I like that. I like that. Or maybe we can make you a little animation for that when you're starting. That's ready in place. That'd be kind of nice. Christina can use Ruffle already. That's good. That's good. So while Premiere is rendering, he's still got a couple of minutes to go. Maybe I'll go and add some of you as regular customers here. Let's see. I believe it'll be easier for me if I can copy your names from the chat. So let's. It doesn't work here. That's a shame. Will it work? Will it work like that? I may have to watch my own stream in order to get an actual text window in which I can context sensitively just copy and paste your names. That'd be really good. But it doesn't quite work that way. Because whenever I right click on one of your names, it comes up with the context menu that says, what would you like to do? Would you like to ban this person? And I'm thinking, no, I just want to go copy paste here. That's all I want to do. Sometimes it's not possible. Can we do this? Oh, I think I can do that. I just have to copy more than I need. And some of your names are easy to just type out again. There we go. You're a regular. Add regular. There we go. Oh, that's not how it works. Ah, okay. So I'll go and I'll start with Rod. Rod Shelley, right? There we go. Let's do that. You're going to be a regular. Maz, thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate that. Very cool. Brian is already. Hello, Brian, by the way. Nice to see you. How's editing headquarters? Real_0 Calvin. I'm going to make you all regulars just so that you guys can go past the bot in regards. You can cap spam, basically, is what I'm saying. Let's go Joe next. Trzaskowski. It was Trzaskowski rather than Truskowski, right, Joe? Let me know. There we go. That's that. And we have Strakowski. Okay. I think she said it was Strakowski rather than Strakowski. It's, you know. And who else have we got? The captain, Control Marcus. Let's do that. That's also CTRL_S__Marcos. You be a regular. You want to be kept off as a regular? You're included. You're on the list. You're on the list. And then we have the captain. Steampunk Belladonna is already on it. And I believe Chris is a subscriber, so he's not affected by it, I believe. Do I know that? Well, we'll find out. We'll find out next time. Oh, the captain's messages were purged, weren't they? That's fine. Oh, man. Twitch. The nightmare. Captain, if you say something again, I know exactly the spelling of your name. I believe it's Captain... oops, there we go. I believe it's Captain Slaymore. I believe that's what it is. So I'll just make you a regular like that. And if that's incorrect, we'll go and respell that. Premiere's finished. That's good. Let's have a look what Captain Slaymore. Thank you so much, Christina. That's, yeah. I think that's how I have spelt it. Is it? Captain Slaymore. Yes, I have. Good stuff. So nice to see him again. So under renders, let's get ready for the world premiere of the high resolution version of the Urban Future 7 final animation in high res. And now that there's more resolution, I can actually see the background action more. I could make out the blue glidey thing, and I can make out the people a little bit better. And now, of course, comes the most important thing, which is the backdoor logo. And since that's where our attention is, no one's looking at the top right corner. It's perfect. I can see it when I've got this thing on full screen. I can't see it, but it's, you know, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. At zero, oh, you're selling Twitch followers as well, Brian. That's amazing. I hear it's a good business to get into. This is good. Okay, I think before I send this to you, Steve, I might ask Premiere to re-encode that at a slightly higher data rate. I can see just a few artifacts that you probably won't be able to see on the stream, but I can see that the still images actually look better than what Premiere has compressed, and that's probably just because it's used a codec that didn't have a high enough data rate. So I'll fix that by just making Premiere create a larger file essentially, and then, you know, you can use it for editing and stuff. It probably won't make a difference when you send it out on the stream, but it's always one of those things with meta. This is the phenomenon I'm talking about. Is technically called meta blocking. So that's all these images are technically being rasterized into little blocks like tiles, like the render tiles, and even what we can't see with our eyes is computers can pick that up, and they then tend to enhance a line that isn't there on the first line of vision, if you know what I mean. So it's not something that's visible now, but if you were to recompress it and send it out on another stream that has that uncompressed and recompressed, then sometimes the quality suffers because subsequent encoder passes will pick these things up, and I want to avoid that's happened. So there we go. That concludes, my friends, the first part of our stream in which, you know, I've been editing this stuff. So that's good. That's good. We've got all that under control. Now we're ready for the second part, which is, of course, playing with Carrara. So there we go.